Hi, we're with Rich Andersen today. Rich, we had just started filming a second ago and had a technical malfunction here. So we're starting all over again. And first question was, when did you join up and which branch of the service were you in?
Right. I mentioned that I was in two branches. I was in the Navy Reserve first, and then I joined the Army National Guard. The Navy was in 1968, which was Vietnam going pretty hard and heavy. And I got my draft notice to report for a physical up to Buffalo, New York. And I thought I didn't want to go as a draftee. I wanted to go enlisted. So I went to the Navy recruiter and joined, and that guaranteed me another year at home. And then I would go off to a school or to the fleet. And as it was, I put in for a school. The school I put in for was radioman. Now, I'd never operated a radio, but they were going to train me. They sent me to San Diego, California. Beautiful weather. But of course, A school, what we call A school, you're just like in boot camp. You have to march to meals, you have to march everywhere. So you don't get to enjoy the beach. You don't get to, it's all like that. And that was 11-week schooling. And I remember going the first day and they asked if you could type on a typewriter. And I said, no, I hunt and peck. Okay, so we're gonna put you in what they called Hell Week. And all you do is sit at a typewriter until you can type 30 words a minute with so many errors, I forget, but not many. So every day, for about 4 days, on the 5th day, I managed to do 35 words. That's how quickly you can force yourself. They had papers over the keyboard so you couldn't look at them. They had a book with what you're typing, numbers and symbols and all that stuff. You had to do 35 words a minute. So I got by that. So the next thing they said, well, in radio school, you have to know Morse code. Do you know Morse code? I said, no. I remember reading it one time in the Boy Scouts or something. Oh, okay, so we're gonna send you to Hell Week Part 2. And you sit there until you can learn Morse code at like 13 words a minute. Now that doesn't sound like fast, but when you're talking about dots and dashes and even spacings and so on. Well, one thing I hadn't mentioned yet is I was a drummer in high school. So something happened, and this is where feeling that I was chosen or something for this. I was listening to the headphones and I was practicing my swear words like everybody else to try and get your timing down. And all of a sudden the guy sent me a message and I understood it. That's strange. So I answered him. He said, come up to my desk. I went up to the desk. He says, you're an instructor. I said, what? He says, your timing's better than mine. And your spacings are great. You're faster than I am. He said, how'd you do it? You said, I said, I've never touched a Morse code key. Never. To this day, I can read Morse code. I can give you anything you want. I can send it in Morse code. Why? I don't know. That's amazing. The kids in school, when I substitute once in a while, they love that. I send their name in Morse code. Really? That's what it is. Anyway, so I stayed out there and I was in charge of teaching Vietnamese officers the Morse code. So they took me out of my shift of A school to be a radioman. They gave me a crow, which was a big promotion because I went there as a seaman recruit and now an E5. So I got 3 stripes and whatever. But I got the crow and still the sparks for radio. I never went to radio school. I'm serious. Anyway, so I stayed there teaching that for 11 weeks or so, and when the cycle came, I filled out my dream sheet. My best friend that I met there was going to Adak, Alaska. I said, I want to go to Adak, Alaska. I went to Norfolk, Virginia. And I got attaché duty. Why? I have no idea. For Sinclair Fleet, he's the commander-in-chief of the Atlantic Fleet. And I would drive him around and so on. Well, that lasted for about 6 months, and he said, you probably want to do something else. So he sent me to the radio station, and I said, I don't know. So they had me running a printing press for about 2 weeks, and I heard about an opening in computers. I want to do computers. So I went over and I ran a UNIVAC 1004 computer, second generation, took up 2 rooms about the size of this one, and it would send paper tapes that were punched, and there was a light reader. And all I had to do was type the headers, put it in, and then put the message on. Off it would go to the fleet. And we could send messages around the world in 20 minutes. And of course, today, that's way too long. We can talk real time and see you on a camera real time. It doesn't take 20 minutes. Right? So in Norfolk, that's what I did. In 1970, I went home and married Debbie Flick, my high school sweetheart. And she came down to join me for the last about a year before I got out of the service there. And I went to PT boats. They put me on a PT boat out of Little Creek. So I had to be the radioman on a PT boat. And I remember the officer of the deck says, well, you know where the Radio Shack is? I said, I know where it is. I said, I don't know which one's the radio in there. There's 2 machines in there. There's a transmitter and a receiver, I believe, but I'm not sure which is which. He goes, oh my God. This was the first time they started having reservists take the job. So there was no full-time Navy person on that PT boat. They figured if that boat got called up, I'd be called up to the boat. So I had to teach myself radio, and I did, enough to get by. But it was mainly voice and so on. A little bit of Morse code, but it was fun. But we got married, got out, decided to move back home. Debbie got a job in Norfolk working as a traffic engineer secretary. And at first, I got a job as an office manager for B.F. Diamond Construction Company. And I was in charge of payroll and accounts payable and receiving and so on. And B.F. Diamond is one of the biggest construction companies. It's out of Savannah, Georgia. I was with Norfolk, and then I went to Chesapeake, which is in the same area as Norfolk. And I had an office that was in a railroad car with a big oak desk and everything. It was beautiful, just beautiful. And then we decided to move home. And that's, I think, was a mistake, because we were thinking we're going home to what we left. And so many people back home got used to us not being around that it was a chore for us to get back in. Or, hey, let's get together. Oh, we're busy. Oh, we're a bit, I'm talking even family. It was tough to see people. And so I decided, I got a job in a refinery, believe it or not, and was in charge of stock and ordering things and so on. Hung in there until I wanted to, go to college. I had to go to college. I don't know why, but I just thought, I'm not gonna, these jobs are all career jobs. I could have stayed there and made probably more money than I ever did teaching, but teaching is what I was used to. That year off, or that summer off, in the year and that kind of thing. So I went over to Edinburgh State College, which is now Edinburgh University, part of the Pennsylvania University system. And I did my bachelor's there. And I stayed right there. I got a job teaching in the local elementary school, 3rd grade. It was wonderful. They bring you dandelions and they think they're flowers and stuff like that. They're just a little higher up, they get a little cocky. But 3rd grade boys and girls just love you to pieces. And so I did that for 7 years and then moved up to New England. We were getting kind of tired of that area. I was real depressed. Steel mills shutting down and Erie was closing up shop and stuff. It just was really falling apart. So we went to New England and I got a job teaching up there in a little town called Nottingham, where they actually had a sheriff. And it was Gunner Foss. I'll never forget his name. He had a good New England name, Gunner Foss, F-O-S-S. Funny guy. And his wife ran a little gas station convenience store. It was called Liar's Paradise. And they had liar competitions there. It was nuts. I got a hat one year for being like 14th or something. My lie wasn't that good. But it was fun to be there and meet some people. And then I went to Candia and finished my teaching in Candia. So I was there 16, 18 years, something like that.
And somewhere in there joining the Army Reserve.
Well, when I was in Nottingham, I met a young girl in my classroom at Christmas time. And they asked if they could bring in music, and they knew I loved music. I said, sure, you want to bring in music. And most of them were bringing in like the Chipmunks or some kind of thing, with, dogs barking out Christmas carols. And we played them, and, you kind of groan, and, oh, that's wonderful. This was 4th grade, and this little girl came in, and she had Canadian brass on CDs. Wow. I said, what do you think? Could I take that home and make a copy of it? Oh, sure. I said, wait a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself because I want to hear from the parents first before I take something home. She goes, oh, no, Dad won't mind. He won't mind. I said, okay. So I took it home, and then I made a phone call immediately. If you don't want me to have this, I got a hold of him. His name was Mitch Avery. And he said, well, we should meet. You got my kid in school, and you're going to have another kid of mine next year. But yeah, it'd be fun. I get to meet a lot of the women at PTA and so on, but the men. So, I had put together a kitchen band at the school with my percussion, drumming, and so on, and we played along and sang, and he got a big kick out of that. And of course, that's when I found out he was the lead trumpeter for the Army Field Band out of Washington, D.C. What a talent. This guy has talent. Anyway, and he had taught most everybody that I know of in that area. Everybody knew Mitch as a trumpeter. And he said to me, he says, I belong to this organization called the 39th Army Band. So we're playing at the mall this Friday. Come on down to hear us. I said, just come on down to hear us. So I went down. Boy, they're good. They're all people my age or a little bit older, some a little bit younger, but boy, they were good. These are adults playing military music and some non-military too. I said, that's fantastic. He said, well, every Wednesday we practice. You want to come over Wednesday? You can audition. I said, I don't know. Boy, I spent 6 years in the Navy. I don't know if I want to. I don't know. Well, I went. And long story short, I said, okay, I'll audition. And Fred Koss, K-O-S, Freddie Koss was our first sergeant, and he said, you already did, because they let me sit in, and I could read the music and play the timpani and the bells and stuff. And I said, you're in if you want it. I said, boy, I don't know if I'm ready to commit. I want to be in it, but boy. And he said, Army National Guard has a new program. It's called Try One. And it's a Try One program where you can sign up for 1 year. They give you all the uniforms and all the stuff, but you really don't sew too much on because you're on a Try One basis. So for 1 year, I went over with Mitch, and we practiced every Wednesday night, and we made concerts all through the summer, all over New England. And actually, then the band traveled overseas several times to Greece and Crete, Virgin Islands, down to Costa Rica. I filled in for the Utah band. They got called to the Middle East, Desert Storm, I think it was, or the next one. I'm not sure which one, but it was one of those. And so we filled in for Utah, which was fun while they were gone. And then another band got called up. We never got called up for an action zone, but we got called up a lot to cover for bands that went. I don't know why, but that's what happened. Yeah. And so we were lucky because it would only be 2 weeks. Then we had our active duty out of the way. And we'd play concerts every Wednesday all summer long, somewhere. And, pretty soon they made me the announcer. I go on, as you can tell, I rattle and run. But I was the announcer for the band and the vocalist. I would sing. And so that was a lot of fun for me. Do sing-alongs with the old standards, Little Brown Church and Vale and all those things. And get the crowds to sing along. So it was fun. And then, of course, the military pieces, America and so on. The national anthem, the Army never sang when I was in. And we didn't have the cymbal crashes like they do in the high schools and so on. Mm-hmm. But, so some little things like that. But we'd go once in a while down to the School of Music in Norfolk and spend the 2 weeks learning and have full-time Army people showing us, what we're doing wrong, mainly. But I had a real good time with that. Mitch and I became best friends. His wife, Leanne, is my wife's best friend. We meet at places now, like in Florida. We'll go to Florida the same week and meet down there at the same resort, those kinds of things. Matter of fact, he just had a granddaughter yesterday. That was kind of neat. He's first granddaughter. We've all got kids, and we got kids. No, I'm sorry, great-granddaughter. Great-granddaughter. First great-granddaughter. So, because I have grandkids. But good guy, a real good guy.
Sounds like you had a great experience in it. Is there any one of those or a couple of those? Just talk about a moment that really stands out for High Point.
Well, boy, let me think. I think we played on the plains of Thermopylae in Greece, and where all these ancient wars and so on took place and so on. And we got there, and the First Army of Greece welcomed us. So we went on the buses and so on, and changed on the bus. We always change on the bus. Put on our dress uniforms, the ones that make us look like bus drivers. Anyway, that's about it. The blues don't match, and they got a big gold stripe down the side. Anyway, so we have our, and being the announcer, I had to sing in Greek, their national anthem during this concert. So I was scared, just scared, and nervous. But they brought us down to the First Army headquarters. We lined up in formation, and then we peeled off from the right, just like people do in boot camp, marched into this hall, and there's a U of high tables, the counter height tables. And we march around the outside, everyone stopping at a place setting. And at the place setting, you had gold utensils, plates with gold, goblets, like 7 or 8 different glasses, forks up at the top, all fish knives, all these things that I had no idea, And then we marched into a cadence that their drummer provided. Then cadence started again, and here comes their band, and they took the inside of the U and lined up across from us at this. So their band is there. They all speak Greek. 1 or 2 spoke English. I don't think any of us spoke Greek. I mean, I sang, but anyway, you could memorize words, sounds, But each plate had a little, I call them airplane bottles, split bottles, or what do you call them, of ouzo. Everybody. I said, my God, if we drink this, we have to play next, after this. It was just a little bottle, but that stuff's pretty potent, So we passed the word to kind of take it easy on the ouzo. Some did, some didn't. We had a good time with that. But that was a formal dinner that I'd never seen before, and since, nor heard of. And that was something else, to have that honor, to go up on top of the Acropolis and play on top of the Acropolis in Athens, Greece. We set up for marches and that, and people that were going there from wherever, stopped and listened. A lot of people don't realize they got little watch towers on top of that for people that might pick up souvenirs. There's a little pane of glass that's shaded. There's people in these stones that are around. So if you start to pick up things, they'll come get you and tell you to drop it. But that was amazing, to go to the Acropolis. We went up to Thermopylae, went all the way up to Turkey, and then came back down around. We were there for 19 days or so, and we got paid to be there. That's what just, I'm in the Army. I got paid to do that. So my experience is not in a war zone. It's spreading honor, spreading patriotic feelings and so on, as we go and play for troops, families, and so on. We played a lot of cemeteries. Those were not fun. But yeah, that was great. The Navy part, while it was fun, it was not my cup of tea. I had a chance to go down on a flat-bottomed LST, I think it's called, or LSD, Light Ship Dock, LSD, where a destroyer can sail right into it. They flood the middle of the ship, and it settles down on stanchions, and then they drain the water up so they can work on problems. So, but that thing bounces with a flat bottom. That was something else. I never could get used to it. I was always seasick. But I was never stationed on a boat. I only visited for trips with the Admiral. So. But that's about it. I mean, I really enjoyed the Army until Mitch got out. Dirty rat, I told him that. He had 30 years in, and I still had 4 years to go to get my 20. And he said, nope, I'm getting out. And I said, well, I don't blame you a bit. You've earned it. So he played 8 years with the Army Field Band out of Washington. And he was their trumpet soloist, and they played everywhere in the world. I mean, you know, that was his full time. Mine was a, weekend warrior stint in the National Guard. That's the difference. But he got out, and then it wasn't as much fun anymore. Your best friend's not there. You have to drive yourself over in the middle of the winter in New England. Which
So did you do your 20?
I did 20. I did actually 21. The nice thing about that is being from New Hampshire, I get teacher retirement, I get Army retirement, and I get Social Security. In Texas, a lot of the teachers never paid in or didn't pay in to Social Security. But in New Hampshire, you had to pay in. So I get it. Having the military behind me got me into TRICARE insurance, which is dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. I mean, it's embarrassing to tell people that are paying for Blue Cross Blue Shield that I'm paying nothing. For all my diabetes medicine, I pay, I think it's $400 a year for all of it. The insulins, the needles, the strips. I've got 17 drugs that I pump into my body every day. And so what a godsend that is. If I go in for surgery or anything, which I've done a couple times, covered. There's no copay. It's just amazing. And that's all because it's military.
So it's worked out really well for you. A young person today?
Today, I had the GI Bill. When I decided, I got back out of the Navy and I wanted to go to school and so on, I used the GI Bill, and it covered an awful lot more than what it covers today. It covered tuition and all that, books for me, because I was military. But now they have, I can't say the name, but something GI Bill, it'll come to me. But they have a different GI Bill that is contributing. They match 2 to 1 what you put in. So if you never put anything in, they don't put anything in. If you're gonna put in, 10% or whatever, I don't know exactly what that would be, but you're gonna put in a certain amount, then they'll double that and put it in. Montgomery GI Bill, they call it.
Okay.
And, but it doesn't cover books. What else? My son just went through that. He went in the Army, came through here, met a girl from Troy, Texas, right up the road here. They settled down here, and that's why we're here. It's because we came to visit them. And upon retirement, I said, it's a lot cheaper in Texas. A lot cheaper in Texas. And I said, Deb, you won't have to work. You won't have to. We don't have any bills. We never ran credit cards. We never, did that. We would have a credit card if we needed it, especially to get a rental car. But we paid it off. And so, I don't have to pay off anything. All my school loans, they're gone. I mean, I know I'm 73, so it should be, But, they were always covered. I made enough money that was nice. And then coming down here, we sold a condo up in Manchester, New Hampshire. We bought it for $89,000 and sold it for $200,000. We took that profit and came down here and bought a house, period. So we have no house payment.
It makes a difference.
It's just worked out so well. It's just worked out so well. The bad part is it's quite a hike to some of our family. My son he's still in the Secret Service here, works at the ranch for President Bush. My daughter's husband took on Wrench Apart down in San Antonio. He's working down there, and she works for him. She does tags. I don't know what that means, but she gets the temporary tags and the permanent tags, surrenders the permanents and gets temporary tags for the junkers that come in that they can sell, because if they're good enough, they can sell them as vehicles, not just as parts. So they're doing well. My grandkids down here are wonderful. We hear all the time from Austin. It's funny his name's Austin, but he's living in Manchester. He lives with his dad, Jerry, and he's a nice guy. Jerry is good to us. And he's good to Lori, too, I think. I think they don't seem like it anyway. Anyhow, the kid calls. He calls us.
So as you look back on the military part of the career and your service, and by the way, thank you for that.
Thank you.
The idea that you have to be in a war zone, I hope we're past that we understand that it's kind of an interlocking whole and all the pieces have to fit together.
Yeah.
Not everybody gets a gun and is in
Well,
the war movie, but
it used to bother me a little bit. We'd go out. I have a couple of relations through my son's wife. They're not really related, but we consider them uncles and cousins and so on. Bob and Jim both went to Nam. One was a Marine, one was Army. And so on Veterans Day in November, we go out and partake in the free food, right? And I don't feel bad about that. They're offering it, and I think, yeah, I did my time. Once in a great while, somebody goes, "Oh, you were a bandy," and I go, "Yeah, but that,
still part of the machine."
right." And then going to Norfolk, when I wanted to go, well, what I did, they fill out a dream sheet. I forget what the name is in the Navy, but we call it a dream sheet. And I went to, I wanted to go to Adak, Alaska. A buddy of mine, his name was Bob Disney. He went there. No relation to the Disney families, but good guy. But I didn't get that. My second choice was Vietnam, because I thought being on a river patrol boat would be the way to go. However, you fill those dream sheets out before you realize what your job is going to be at A school. So now I'm thinking, I'm not going to go to ADAC. I'll bet I got Vietnam, and I don't want Vietnam now because I've not been trained. It's just a funny thing. Well, I didn't get it. I got Norfolk. But for the kids today, I'll tell you what I got out of it mainly is maturation, dedication. Even if you don't like it, leave things better than you found them. Is a phrase I'll never forget. Instead of saying I don't want to do it, make someone notice that you did it. Don't just do it piecemeal. Comes to mind we'd be polishing toilets, latrines. They don't call them toilets, latrines, and there'd be copper pipes and so on. And most people just went in, they scrubbed it all down. I'd go in, I'd take my little piece of black emery and take those copper pipes till they're glowing gold. People came in, holy cow, who did that? And, well, we did. I always answered, we did. So I think that's the maturation, that's the growing up. And I think if you're going to go into service now, you're going to have to grow up a little bit. You're going to have to. And if you know that going in, that's fine. I'm not so sure I knew it. I wouldn't have taken that piece of liver to the commanding officer and ended up shoveling the grinder in February in Great Lakes, Illinois. But yeah, I think that's it. And you make some lifelong friends, lessons that you'll never forget. Remember joining a little Lutheran church at the time. We were doing Lutheran, and joined the Lutheran church choir, and had a good time with it, and became a Sunday school teacher there and so on. But the most fun I had was I joined their softball team. They had a little softball team. And it's those kinds of things that got me through the tail end of my Navy duty, because I was still in the Navy at the time. And boy, I look forward to those games. I look forward to meeting with those people and singing in the choir and so on. Sometimes I had to miss, but the church has been, an important part of my life since I was little.
Well, and that leads into the question now. Looking back on the military career, how did it impact your faith life? Strengthen, or were there times of testing? Or?
It really, I don't feel tested. I was always just dumbstruck when, I'm playing on a softball team. Or, hey, I'm driving the Commander-in-Chief of the Atlantic Fleet around. I take him to the golf course. I get to play behind him in my own foursome. Things, people are actually having to work. And I thought, how did that happen? And I think, boy, talk about being chosen or something. Clean living. Now, I don't know if that's that way, but I kind of attributed it to that, which made it much easier for me to become involved in the churches. It gave me a voice from, where we were and so on. Went up to New England, and there's a little Christ Church, which was a congregational church. There's a change. And but that's where Mitch went. Okay, so my best friend, he said, well, come on over. I went over, and he said, we have a pretty good choir. So I don't know when I sang in their choir. And ended up being a superintendent of Sunday school there and so on. Those kinds of things. I like that. And taught high school kids at a Lutheran church in Warren. Thinking about what I could maybe do here at the school as far as rocketry or rhythm band or something. I mean, some of that stuff, you'd be surprised how much fun the kids have, how much fun the adults have. I went to a teenage penal institution up in near Erie, PA. Went in there, it was all female, juvenile delinquents, drug addicts, and I took my rhythm instruments with me, sound system, went in there, and those kids were banging on things just like fourth graders, but they were seniors in high school and so on. There's just something about it. If you can show some enthusiasm and get them going. So I think, it may be time for me to start that up again. I haven't done it in a while. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And most of it's shovel handles, pie plates, anything you can get that makes noise, cowbells and stuff.
You're right, kids like that.
And just making noise and learning to follow a director. And you pick directors out of the crowd and they direct the band and they realize they have power, because if you point, you got to play. Don't ask questions. If he points, you got to play. Because if you don't, the audience will know. So, I don't know. That's those things that I like to do. I sing in a choir here. We need more people, but that's going to maybe iron itself out after this pandemic, if we can ever get around it. And but I don't know. That's my number one calling, I think, is singing with the people. Playing drums got me, money for school and so on. I always played in groups, little garage bands and stuff. Scotch and Soda was the name of one of them. We played all over Western Pennsylvania, down to Pittsburgh, or all the way over to Harrisburg. So, but it was all standards. It wasn't rock and roll. See, I was born too late. I wanted to be born in the 30s and be with Krupa and those guys. That's the kind of music I really like. So.
Well, whether it's military music or just pop standards, everybody likes music.
Yeah.
It's just a question of different styles.
I was playing timpani over at Christ Church one Easter, and there was a guy playing trombone, and he came down afterwards. He said, "You look like you've played these before." And I said, "Yeah, I was in the Army band and so on. I played timpani and so on." He goes, how would you like to be in the Temple College Symphonic Band? Playing timpani? I said, sure. So I went and I played with him for 3 years, and all their concerts and so on. That was fun. Got to read the music again, and boy, you know, you take some time off from reading, it takes a while, so. That was fun too. And it was so, what do you call it, when you get that reinforcement? So, there's no word there. But, excuse me. Authenticating. Think, you know, I'm a drummer. I'm a percussionist. I can play this stuff. And all of a sudden you're playing it at age 68, 69, 70, and you're thinking, wow, I'm playing to all these college kids and I'm doing okay.
Still doing it.
So that was fun. Yeah, you know, to put one thing, I don't have just one thing. And there are so many times where I've met people. We were singing a solo at an interfaith chapel at the mental institution where my mom was. She's long released, but the youth group I had put together the candle, 4 candles. We built it out of milk cartons and so on. And then on the day, we push it together so they make one flame in the middle. Well, that paraffin, you get it hot enough and it burns like gasoline. And that flame was 15 feet in the air. And it's like, we're running around with the fire extinguishers, wax going all over the floor. Jeez. And I'm singing, Oh, Arrow Rose, a solo. And I look out of the corner of my eye and there goes the flames. I said, oh. I said, we got to stop. We got a fire over here. So little things like that, those are dear to me, memories, just, you know, and we got through that and the service went on. And that was a lot of fun. And it was always, you know, because I got involved that I had the fun. I see so many people, you know, that don't like church or think it's kind of a waste of time, or well, if I can get a tea time on Sunday, I'm going to take it. I mean, I look forward to it. I just do. And I'm not a quoter of scripture. I can't, you know, John 3:16, I see the sign, but, you know, I don't do that kind of thing. I just, and they want to do it, that's fine. I'm just saying I'm not one that does it. So I don't really, brandish religion so much as I get something out of it, and I still do.
It sounds like it has given you everything that you've enjoyed, not everything, but a lot of the things that you've enjoyed in life, but it's also because you put a lot of yourself into it.
Well, yeah, and I think I do. And my wife says, you know, your head will go like this. It doesn't have to go like this. But I don't know. It's just if I think you need it, I'll try. And I won't step into something I can't handle, though. I just can't. I don't have the time. But no, it's good. It's good. And I'm glad we found this place. We had a bit of a run-in at our former parish, and not personally, but I lost the feeling there. I didn't have the feeling that I had when I first got there. And we came down here and I said, hey, here we are again, right back at it. So it's good. It's good to be here.
Well, I want to say thank you for bringing what you've brought to St. Francis, but also for your service, for the music and the joy that you put out into the world over the years, for answering the call however it came.
Thank you. Thank you very much.